That sucker was tight.
What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to another episode. I was able to go with these TCBROS. I'm really liking them. I've taken the bike out a few times now. We ended up going with the old pegs that I had previously mounted on the forward controls, and then same thing with the other side. We got the went with the original foot peg, and then I actually ended up just getting a 90-degree bracket. I'm probably just gonna put some grip tape on there because it's right where I want it to be. I feel like once I start getting that front tire up, it's gonna be in a good position. I'm putting this bar and riser setup on. We went with the OG or the original garage risers. They're solid bushings and new hardware. We got the Heartlook ODI grips. I think those are gonna be really nice, feel pretty grippy. And we also went with the ODI bar. So I'm gonna link all this stuff in the description so you guys can check it out. And be really easy for you guys to go and get the same setup if you want. But that's gonna be in the next video, so keep an eye out for that. I have talked to a few guys, a few stunt riders that I follow on Instagram, just what's a good setup, what these guys have been using, because I mean, some of these guys have been doing this stuff for years, so they got a really good input. Don't be afraid to reach out and ask people, you know, what they know. They've been super cool with me, so got some good input. And what I found is that these 6.5 risers with the mid-bend bars, moto style bars, are gonna be a really good setup, really good way to control your bike. And honestly, I just think the look, I really like the look. I think it's sick. Keep an eye out for that video. That's gonna be a good one. I'm excited to get those bars on so I can start doing some stuff on this bike. And then I'm actually going to pick up some mag rims today from a local chopper shop down the road. That's gonna be a good deal. We're gonna get this bike on the work table right there, my custom work table that I can roll around in the garage. Pretty happy about that. Anyway, guys, enough blabbering. So support your boy because we're trying to build something here. So, and if you're subscribed, you're part of it. I really appreciate that. It means a lot to me. We got our shifter shaft. We're gonna need a shifter linkage as well. Both of those are gonna go on the primary. We got our mounts for the mid controls, and it looks like our brake and shifter levers. We got our gaskets for the primary. I had to get myself a TCBROS banner. Yeah, so I think I'm just gonna skim through my climber's manual here, make sure I remember how to do this. Cover all the bases so I don't skip any steps. Get some tools out and start wrenching on this thing. So let's get after it. I'm just gonna walk through a process here. First thing you're gonna wanna do is get this brake rod off. Little pin here, you gotta pull that and then pull the pin out there and that'll drop down. You can see it in there. Just with a wrench, you just wanna loosen that up and then the rod will actually just spin right out. So first thing we're gonna do is take that rod off. Essentially this whole thing. We don't really need to take this apart yet. We're gonna get these bolts out and this whole thing will come off, and that's pretty much it for this side. Super easy. Basically what needs to happen is, obviously all this needs to come apart. We'll take the shifter rod off. Primary cover has to come off. We have to take off the clutch and the compensator as an assembly, and then we also take off the actual primary backing plate. The reason for that is we need to run our shifter shaft through the primary, and the only way to do that is taking this entire thing off the bike, draining all the fluids, all that stuff. So one important tool that we will need is the locking tool. Otherwise, when you try to break torque on your clutch or your compensator, your primary is just going to rotate. So this is an essential tool. I just got it on Amazon for like $8. And I did do the overnight so I can get it today so I can finish up this project. I think what I will do is maybe touch on a few pointers as I'm taking this thing off. Honestly, you should just have your climber's manual to follow or whatever else you have. And you're essentially just taking off, you're gonna drain your fluid, you're gonna take off your bolts here that are holding the primary cover on. That'll give you access to your primary chain assembly, which I will show you guys how to break torque on that and take off as well. Next step here is we're gonna need to get this zip tied for now. That way when you go to take it off, it keeps at its current tension. That way when we go to put it back on, it's gonna be a lot easier than if you were trying to compress it or put tension on it and install it at the same time. I've done it before and it is not fun. Now, thinking about this, I probably should have went with the manual adjuster and just replaced it while I'm in the primary, because I know right around 20,000 miles, these things do start to fail, and that'll cause your chain to be flopping around in here. You don't want that. This bike is at 16,000. Probably should have just replaced it. It's not very expensive, but it's still working for now, so I'm gonna leave it. You know, when I want to replace it, you literally just take the primary off, swap it out, and it's not a big deal. If you got a DYNA and you're getting up there in the teens for mileage, you might as well just go with the manual tensioner, get it swapped out while you're in here. But for now, I'm just gonna zip tie this down, we'll get it out, and then we'll be ready to break torque on the clutch and the compensator and take that out as well as in assemblies. Before I get all this apart, what I'm gonna do is just loosen up some tension on the clutch so we don't have any pressure built up there. All you gotta do is unclip your cable here. Fine. You can just move this boot. You got a 14 and a 13 mil. You can bring this jam nut all the way down to the base, and you screw your cable all the way up to the top here. And what that's gonna do is, you can see here, I got basically no play in my clutch at all. You know, we're barely moving our clutch plates. So that'll release the tension on the clutch, which will allow us to take all this out nice and easy. For those of you who have never done this before, easily a job that you could do in your garage in a day. There's really no reason why it should take you any longer than that unless you are lacking parts or tools in my case. You just need kind of your basic tools and a brain. And you can definitely do this yourself and save yourself a lot of money. And our tensioner will come out just like that. It's being held. Now you can take a look at this plate, take a look at any wear. It's got a little bit of wear on there. See kind of where the chain is coming through. It's not bad. You can see here, this is why it's called an automatic. As your tensioner wears, you know, this plate here that your chain rides on, tensioner is pushing up on the primary chain, giving that tension in there that you need. Plate right here that's slanted will slope up. You can see there's little teeth in there, and this essentially will push that way the more and more your chain starts to slack. So that's why they call it an automatic tensioner. As you can see here, I have quite a bit of play left. I'm not too worried about it right now. Probably once I hit that 20,000 mark for mileage, I will be just throwing in a manual one in there, that of which maybe I'll make a video on, but you essentially are just inserting plates, setting your tensioner to where it needs to be, and that's just where it's gonna stay. And they last a long time. So, but this one's good for now. We're just gonna hold on to it and put it back and not worry about it at this time. We have free play here. You can go ahead and break torque on the clutch and on the compensator. The clutch is reverse threads, so we are going to be going righty-loosey. Clutch is actually lefty-loosey. So this is the portion of the video where we are going to need our breaker tool. So basically, we're just gonna run it up into the chain like that. That'll keep our primary chain from rotating while we're trying to break torque on it. In order to break torque on this clutch assembly, you actually have a snap ring in there that we'll need to get out. So yeah, you'll just want to pick up a snap ring set. There we go. And there's plates, and it literally just slides out, and this all just slides out as an assembly. That'll give you access to the nut for the clutch assembly itself. So we're gonna go ahead and break torque on that. We're all set up with our tool in there. And then we're gonna move on to the compensator. Like, I'm so ready to ride this thing. Like, I enjoy wrenching on bikes sometimes, but I'm definitely a true rider. When it comes down to it, some people would rather wrench on them. I would definitely rather ride them. I'm just a rider. But, you know, to save a little bit of money and to understand what's actually going on in your motorcycle, I think that it is beneficial to do a little bit of your own wrenching at some point, so you can kind of so you can gain a good understanding and knowledge of your bike. So if something does go wrong, you're not scared to dig in and figure out and make any repairs, because, you know, you can save a ton of money and time, because, you know, when you go to a dealership or a shop, they may have 10 to 12 or whatever X amount of bikes on lifts already. You have to wait in line to get your bike done, when, you know, if you can just do this stuff yourself, you can obviously save yourself a ton of time and do it on your own schedule. So that's why I'm kicking these videos out for you guys, to help you guys out and to give you the confidence, and just to tell you that you guys can do this yourself with a couple of basic tools and some patience and a brain. So if you got those three things, you can do this. Anyway, I'm gonna get this thing off. We're just gonna leave that on for now until we're ready to take off the compensator with it as an assembly. So now we can go ahead and take this back a little bit, swap out our tool to this side of the bike. That sucker was tight. So here at this stage, we can go ahead and remove our bolt for the comp. This actually all can come out. Put that down in a safe spot. And then we can go ahead and remove our clutch nut. Remember, it is righty-loosey. Pick that out. Keep all your parts organized. And at this point in time, we should be able to remove this out as an assembly. Start with your clutch, cup it, and it will come right out. This is where it gets kind of annoying, but Harley did do a decent job here making this accessible. I don't know if you can see this. So basically there's a bolt right in this cavity here where you can see light coming through. Right up in there, there's a bolt that I gotta get to, and then there's another one right there, which I think I just go on a swivel. Just a long extension arm here for this one, and a swivel on that one, and I think we should be good. I did want to say, I have seen people take this entire battery cover off, or the entire battery housing assembly off to get to those, and I just don't think it's necessary. It's a lot of extra work when you don't need to. It was actually designed to be able to access those from the other side. So just as I suspected, I was able to get this through. I just ran a really long arm with a swivel attached to get that one back in there. So that's out. And then for this one, same thing, just ran a swivel. So it's pretty hard to do with the camera in my hand, but you guys get the idea. Just gonna take a little bit of finesse. For some reason, I'm actually glad I did this, I'm going to anyway, but it looks like our old gasket is actually starting to fail. We had a leak back there, and the way I can tell is if you look on the motor here, you can see where it had been. You can see a ton of residue on the motor where the transmission meets the bottom crank. So I didn't realize this, but there was already a mid-set shift lever in the primary, and they had it caulked or something to the transmission so it wouldn't move. I've never seen anything like that before. Very odd, but that's all right. We're down to the bare bones where we need to be. I'm actually reusing this one. You can buy a new one that's a little bit shorter. I think actually there used to be mid controls on this bike, so that might be the shorter one. Either way, if you have a longer one for a true forward control bike, you can buy the shorter one. It's not gonna matter. You can still hook your linkage up to this. It's just gonna come run down at a slant a bit. So not a big deal, but we're just gonna leave this one on. We didn't buy a new one, we don't need to. We'll just reuse it. So I am gonna have to remove the shaft here so we can put the new linkage on there when that's ready. But at this point, it's pretty much just putting things back together with the new parts, torquing everything down the right way. Eventually I'm gonna have to do this again because I will end up doing a chain conversion, but we don't need to get into all that today. I'm gonna run it until this belt blows, which will probably be a while anyway. So we're not gonna mess with that now, but eventually if you guys ever did wanna go to a chain conversion, you would basically have to go through this process again to take off that back primary cover to get to your sprocket here, your main sprocket coming from your transmission. So good deal. All right, I'm gonna start putting things back together and we're gonna make quick, easy work of this thing because I still wanna go ride today. So let's get to it. All right, so what you'll need to do here on this inner primary cover is get the old washer out of there. What I'm gonna do is basically just put a rag here, protect the case, something to pry against. We're gonna get a wrench and just pry up on it. And that is one way to do it. And then we're just gonna take our new gasket here and push it in. All right, so here's the old one. You can see here, similar design. There is a little spring that goes on the inside there. So, and the spring was on the inside on this one. So we're gonna go in the same way. So essentially you're gonna want your spring to be on the inside. So when you push it in, this is what will be showing on the cover. Seen other people do this on YouTube. They will actually tighten these down before putting the tensioner in. So you're gonna wanna get that tensioner in first before you torque these down. So this is obviously where zip tying your tensioner is where all that's gonna pay off. I'm just gonna go ahead and run one through. I found the back one to be the easiest first. It's kind of the order that I end up doing it. Get that one started and then we can go ahead and run the next one. So we're just gonna get this finger tightened right now. We don't need to do any more than that. This is just so we can have some tension on the chain when we're torquing down the clutch and the compensator, because what can happen if the primary chain tensioner is not installed, before we torque these down, the primary chain could actually get pinched in the housing when the compensating sprocket bolt is tightened. We obviously don't want that, so we're gonna hand tighten this first. We're not gonna torque it down quite yet. Now, when you took this out, technically, if you cleaned all of this up, you're gonna wanna re-lube it with some gear oil. So your Formula 1 Plus, or if you're like me, go with the synthetic stuff. It's just Harley-Davidson gear oil. So make sure that's lubed up before you put it all back together. We're gonna throw some thread lock on there. We're gonna run 100 foot-pounds, and then we're gonna loosen it one full turn and retighten it to 140 foot-pounds. So everything's in, tensioner's torqued down, clutch is all torqued down, we got our plate in, and our compensator is torqued down. What I'm gonna do next is adjust the clutch here. So if you got any free play in your nut here, you just wanna get it hand tightened. 11/16 for that. So you're just gonna get that hand tightened. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna take your Allen wrench and you are gonna go a half to a full turn back. And now once that's tightened, you can go ahead and adjust your clutch cable. It was a 12 and 13 for me. Be the same for you guys. So we can just run this out on the cable and kind of get a feel of your adjustment here. You can always make some adjustments while you're riding. Just want to make sure we're getting the full separation. All right, now for the fun part. Make sure you guys get your new gasket put on. I already cleaned the surface, so I'm not worried about any of that. All right, and then we can go ahead and slide this on. Now it's probably not gonna be the easiest thing because we got a new shifter shaft. But let's see how it goes. All right, so little update. We got the peg on, we got the shifter on, and I'm about to fill it up. Everything's tight, everything's ready to go. Shifter linkage hooked up. Having a bit of an issue though when like the shifter is sticky. Just wants to stay in position. And I have no idea what could be causing that. The only theory that I have, whoever did the forward controls on this bike, as you can see, they basically used the shifter shaft to be a seal for the primary, and it looks to me as if they ran some sort of sealer or something on there to help seal the inside of the inner primary cover. And I'm wondering if that's causing some friction because it was pretty tough to get that shaft through the inner primary cover. So I don't really know. At this point, I think I'm going to fill it up, see if everything's running properly. Maybe it'll wear itself in. Otherwise, I basically have to start over, take everything apart, do everything we just did, and get in there and see what's going on and why it is sticking. So obviously I don't want to do that. So I'm gonna run with it, see how it goes, and you guys will find out in a minute. Alright, so there you guys have it. We got the mid controls on there. Also, if you've noticed, we got the bars on there as well. I don't think I'm going to do a how-to video on these because honestly, it's pretty straightforward. And you can find about 1 million videos on how to install bars on the DYNA. To follow up on the issue here, so I found out that there was actually a copper fitting that someone ran on this outer plate. I don't know if maybe that's how you do it. Obviously, I'm not an expert. Maybe that's just a good way to do it, or a lot of people do it that way. I'm not sure. You can see where they caulked it onto the transmission here. I don't know. I've never seen that before, but that's what it was. And I ended up having to kind of hammer out that copper fitting that was inside the hole right here on the primary to allow this to move freely. I've been riding it for quite a bit now and no issues. So pretty stoked about that. I was a little worried at first, but I did want to follow up on that with you guys to let you know what that was. Other than that, you guys, I think we're going to check out for this video. I'm actually going to go ride this thing and do a little practice. There's so many things that I still have to do to this thing to get it kind of legit. I do, however, have crash bars coming. They should be here either today or tomorrow. I didn't pick up a throttle sleeve before I did these bars, so I got that ordered up and should be here today or tomorrow, so I can get my ODI blue Heart Luck grips on there. And yeah, overall, this is kind of the progress of the bike. I'm pretty happy with the way it's turning out so far. I got to try to find a matching rim, but I think this thing's gonna look pretty gnarly when it's done. If you got any questions, just go ahead and hit me up in the comments down below. Otherwise, you can check out my Instagram. I will put it up right here. I'm much faster answering the questions on my Instagram, so if you got an immediate question, just go ahead and hit me up on Instagram and I'll get back to you right away. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.